So I want to talk about algorithms for a minute. So, first things first. What is an algorithm?
Specific way to do it.
Just talk to you.
It's a set of instructions. It's a list of instructions.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about things that fall into the category of a list of instructions in a bunch of different ways. Okay? So I want to differentiate kind of where all of those things live in some kind of reasonable hierarchy. Cool? So down here at the most basic level of this hierarchy is as precise as a list of instructions get, which is the machine code that a computer actually takes. Okay? I'm just going to call that machine code because we're getting to the point where quantum computing might soon be an actual thing that you can do, and so that'll be a little bit non-binary. But what else? Cool? So this is the actual instructions, right, that cause this series of little on and off switches in the computer to go through and do something. Okay? You are not going to be able to read machine code, ever. Small caveat. There are a couple of guys who have built enormous computers in Minecraft. I have a sneaking suspicion that those guys can probably read just a little bit of machine code, because they've probably spent a long time thinking about the basics of a transistor computer. Cool? There's a couple of really cool like calculators built out of like frickin' redstone and switches. They're totally badass. I encourage you to go look at them. So machine code is the bottom level, right? That's something I'm not going to read. There's this kind of higher level coding languages. I don't know why I'm writing higher level. It should be obvious. Can't spell. This is fun. Coding languages. It's probably still spelled wrong. So, what a coding language is something like LaTeX, right? LaTeX is not really, strictly speaking, much of a coding language, but it does have some elements, right? C is a coding language. Python's a coding language. Java is a coding language. What do those things do?
They allow you to sort of parse what you're trying to do and type it in some semblance of English, and then it'll translate when you compile it into machine code?
Yes, absolutely. This is kind of the bridge between human brain thinking bits and computer brain thinking bits, right? This is kind of the translator, right? So I can type some stuff in C, hit compile, and what compile does is make that kind of semi-human language into machine language. You guys with me on that? Okay. One step above a coding language is what?
English or regular language?
Kinda. So my claim is that coding languages are very specific beasts, right? Like these include all of that kind of nitpicky syntax that people really don't particularly like about computer coding. Like this is the land in which you can hunt around for a frickin' comma for like 4.5 hours. Okay? Like that's the level of precision required. It's extremely high precision. You need to actually do a good job with your computer coding. Like, that's the coding language level. One step above that is this kind of more abstract thing, which is like, we actually call it PsuedoCode. And what PsuedoCode is like one step out from that like really specific, like I need to know what an int versus a char is, right? Like that's that coding language level. You need to know which things are integers, which things are characters, how to pass them back and forth to one another, right? Pseudocode is one level above that. That's just you writing stuff down, like store this number would be an example of pseudocode. So with me on that? So like, for instance, if I wanted to say a situation like add 2 and 3, right? This is at the pseudocode level, right? If I wanted to go one step more refined, I would need a command to add 2 and 3. Depending on what language you're in, that might look something like this, right? If I wanted to take that result and store it in something, I might say in English, let x be add 2 plus 3. And if I wanted to write this in a coding language, I might have to do something like the integer x is 2 plus 3, execute that line. Is all good with that? I'm not writing this in any specific language, by the way. I'm just kind of, you know how people sort of fake an accent sometimes in an extremely racist way? That's basically what I'm doing here. This is like the racist computer code. Cool?
It works in processing, I'm pretty sure. It works in Java.
Yeah, it probably does work in several. Okay, so that's the pseudocode level. Algorithm level lives one above that. Algorithm level doesn't include things like this thing's going to be a number, or I'm going to call this variable x, or I'm going to call this variable character name, right? It just says stuff like, what the heck, let's do an example.